Hey and welcome to what I was going to say, another episode of Ricky's Reviews. You might notice something a little bit different, especially if you're a Swedish listener at this point, which might surprise you, but this is something I've been talking about in my Swedish reviews, so the English listeners that are like new now, which is kind of the point while I'm trying to expand what I do to a broader audience, and while I also have the option to make reviews, and since I play a lot of games that aren't exactly the newest ones, I have this focus which I spoke about in my Swedish introduction to this new season, the season 3 of this show, which will split into two, whereas the RR will continue just the way it is for Swedish listeners. Sadly, for the ones who actually will listen to this from English viewers, but that's how it's going to be. And then you have the RRR marked ones, which will be the ones that I will keep in English from this point on. So this serves as like an introduction to everything that's supposed to be coming in the future. Now, there was supposed to be an RRR, and maybe even in Swedish, but I had technical difficulties, so I couldn't start with the game that I wanted to talk about. And usually, for the ones who are not familiar with my show, you know that I usually show clips of the games and the hardware and stuff like that, which I am not able to do at this point with the review that I'm going to make in this introduction, which will be a short review of the first Ricky's Reviews Retro, as the show will be called. Hence RR and R. There will be new graphics eventually for both of these shows, and as I said, there will be a timeline, whereas the game can be 20, 10 or even 1 year old, but the newest games, the ones that I play, will be kept in Swedish, will be kept in RR, and will be a show completely different from this one, split into two, which is basically the concept that I wanted to have my fans still, but at the same time reach out to a broader audience. And as I said, I play a lot of games, and newest ones, of course, I will keep playing those, and those you won't get reviews from unless I save a game because of time, or that I'm not really interested in the game at the moment, or can't get my hands on it, which has been a little bit of a problem for me. So I addressed that as a problem, and since now, the reason why I also wanted to do like the RR and R, and the time was right, was because there's a lack of really interesting games, at least for me. And I still handpick my games the way I've always been doing it with my shows. So, like for instance, the Borderlands 2 came out, but I'll have to wait with that one. Darksiders 2 came, but it wasn't that interesting to me. And we got a lot of different games coming out that I was able to review, but maybe not got the hands on or wasn't interesting enough. Now, the upcoming reviews for R&R, which is basically the only thing in this message that will go out to the old viewers, is that Walking Dead Episode 3 will come out, The Last Story will eventually come out, and then I will check on two new games, Pokemon Black, White 2 and Resident Evil. Now those games, if you're a Swedish listener, you will be able to see what I have to say about, but for the R&R with the English ones, we will focus on the one that I was going to do, Okamiden, later on, and today we will talk a little bit about the Kirby Anniversary Edition that came out for the Wii. And that is a new game, and I will speak about that soon. And then we will talk about a couple of Square Enix games, and eventually a couple of like hidden gems, which I will also try and uncover, because hidden gems can be closer than the usual hidden games that a lot of other reviewers out there talk about. And now the point of this show is basically to give my view, like the second opinion, and it has always been like that, and it will continue to be like that. My analysis will be really different from others and very, very hard. So when I say something about a game, usually you can take it with a pinch of salt to figure out. You can't really look at the scales, like the grading scales. The information is more important, but the grading scales are really, really strict here. And the medium is like 5.5, and a game that is medium can still be playable. Now if you go from the IGN scale, it might be completely different. Like, I usually don't like games that are below 7.5, and even above 7.5 up till 8.5 is like somewhere around there. It might be good, might be bad, but it's very, very vague, which I don't want to have. And I'll, of course, don't focus that much on that aspect, more like what I'm saying about the actual things. Now, I said that I'm going to review the anniversary edition of Kirby. So this is going to be like a really short review and a little bit of the, like, what you're going to expect in my, how I look at things. So Kirby Anniversary Edition, why do I even do this kind of review? Yeah, well, basically it could be a new one since it's a new game, but mostly the game itself is actually a lot of old games. Now Kirby has like a 20-year anniversary, so there's like games coming out almost every single year, and we can see like this pattern with the games, like they usually are the same. Now I really do like to play some of the Kirby games, but they really go up and down even though they don't change the core concept. Now this anniversary edition I don't really have too much to say about, so my review will basically give away a grade based on something that I haven't played that much, but I have played a lot of Kirby games. Now this specific version I only played just a very, very little, multiple reasons to that. Now there are a new game inside it, and that game is like a challenge mode where you play as in the Return to Dreamland that came out for Wii earlier this year, and those are new challenges and really not that interesting in my opinion. Well, it still is the same kind of gameplay and can be fun if you're a real hardcore fan, but apart from that it's nothing new. To have a lot of these games and to be able to view the history and check trailers is actually a really good idea. Now there is so many Kirby games that is actually possible, and a lot of these games vary from like the grades 9 to even 6, which is a really good, like, they have been pending up and down. It's like a good cycle that they have, like there are some really bad ones and some really good ones. Now completed into this, basically I'd say that this collection as a whole would be like a 7.5 in a grade scale. Well, it's not really that easy since you get a lot of games for a low price. Now most of these games are actually really cheap to get your hands on, even like the Game Boy games and the Super Nintendo ones, and there has been remakes before for the DS for instance. So the value is really depending on if you want everything at one place at the same time, which is the biggest like bonus with this game as a whole. Now the price, if it were low, would be like this big whole cheap bargain box combined into one game, but that's not the case. So yeah, there is a lot of content, there is a lot of good games, but overall you don't see what you probably would expect, and the new content does not weigh up what you get for it. So in that aspect I'd say that this is not a recommendation from me to you to buy. I'd say pick your favorites instead, or go for the other Kirby games for a lower price. But even so, if you're new to Kirby, well, you have like this box full of like so many games and so many hours. So in that aspect, this is actually like saying an anniversary we're going to celebrate with the fans, but the fans are the ones that probably doesn't need the game as its own, so it's a little bit of a fail in my opinion. Well, however, the ones that hasn't played them, well, you can get yourself an anniversary edition and put that one in your collection and have like everything Kirby that you need, which I'd say for a system like Wii, to end the lifespan on the third Kirby game in the Wii system, that ain't too bad. Now I don't want to put a final grade on it, but I will say that for me this was nothing really interesting, even though I was looking forward to it, because basically there wasn't anything that I needed to play there, which is a big problem for a game that is really costly. Now, if you want a real good Kirby experience on the Nintendo Wii, there are others, and K2 no Kirby, Kirby Epic Yarn is my pick for this. Now, as a retro review, well, there are a lot of retro games here that is good, so you decide for yourself in this case if those Kirby games are what you're looking for. Anyways, that's the introduction to this new show. I hope you enjoyed it. Now I will be away for a while because of going to travel, but when I come back I'll speed up with all the retro review shows. I will review Okamiden as soon as the technical difficulties have been solved, and there will be upcoming games, I promise you that, as well as the R&R, which my Swedish viewers will be able to look at. Until next time though, Undertaker out.